don't even know the fucking words.
I know the dwarves have beautiful baritone voices, and that's really all I cared about.
There we go.
It was the best musical, I think, this year. It's a bold statement, but that's what I'm going to go with. So, hey, everyone, and welcome to the Nerfcast. This is Shawn.
And Josh. So, we were just thinking of doing a year-in review kind of podcast since it's, getting to the end of the year, and we wanted to get you something at around Christmas time. We're recording this, obviously, before Christmas, even though this will be released right after Christmas.
We could be recording on Christmas. They don't know that.
Yes, that is possible.
We could be Jewish for all they know.
We will also say that no presents have been opened. So...
Yes.
You can still ship us those blasters that you want us to review.
Or if you want to give us New Year gifts.
That is also true.
We also take Nerf blasters as well.
Yep.
It's funny, we're saying that, Josh, how many Nerf blasters do we have?
All of them.
Exactly. I have too many to keep in an organized area now. I have them in my car, my garage, my room.
Yeah, I've got so many blasters.
Yeah, and Sun does more, but we don't need them, but we want them.
It's true.
And
if this were a year in review of our own blaster acquisitions, it would be we bought all the blasters this year.
Yes. The reason you're not seeing them in your local stores is we bought them.
There we go.
Yes.
There we go. But, so let's go over sort of some of the things that happened this year in Nerf.
Mm-hmm. So this year was actually Nerf's 43rd year producing Nerf toys.
Yep. Nerf. They started out with squishy balls, and now you can shoot each other.
Yep. It all escalated from there.
We're living in the future, Shawn.
Yes. We have magazine blasters, battery-powered blasters.
Disc blasters.
Super Soaker stuff works with Nerf stuff now.
It's every child's dream come true.
It's like Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, except it's water and foam.
Yes.
But not a pool noodle.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Although melee.
Anywho, so at the beginning of this year, I think the biggest thing I can recall is when the Raven came out.
Yeah, that was sort of a big deal.
I was very excited to see this because, to me, when I first was getting into Nerf, the idea of being able to go akimbo, hold two blasters at the same time, and just be able to fire with them seemed very, very fun. So when I saw the Raven, I'm like, this is almost perfect. This is exactly what I wanted to get. The problem is, it was still kind of a bulkier design. What do you think of it, Josh?
I think that it changed the way a lot of people were looking at things. I think that the barricade was already out from 2011. So the flywheel design wasn't anything new, per se. It was the first flywheel design with the clip system, and I think that was a big revelation to people. They'd already been sort of modding the barricade from what I remember, but you had to tape up the flywheels because it was made for whistlers and things like that. So this was really sort of one of the first things this year where Nerf was, hey, we listened to something that the fans have wanted, which is a clip-fed flywheel design semi-automatic blaster. And I think they did a fair enough job with it.
It was definitely a good, simple design. I think they're trying to go that middle ground where with the bullpup design, it feels like it could work as just like a regular blaster you'd use all the time, but small enough where it's very easy to carry and maneuver.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was a nice in-between. It wasn't like they tried to make something huge like with the Stampede. You know what I mean?
Not
that there's anything wrong with Stampede, but it's just a giant stock. It's a giant blaster.
And you have the huge Stampedes. You already have the small motorized barricades. So Nerf probably said, okay, we need to find the middle ground as a new product to bring in, and that's where the Raven filled in for that niche.
Yeah. It works well as a primary blaster if you really enjoy being able to just lay down a lot of fire quickly. It was good for what it was. I'm not a fan of bullpup designs, so I didn't use them. But they were used very effectively against me many times.
Yes.
I am making accusing looks at Shawn right now, but...
Yep, I was rolling with two blasters, one in each hand, and it was very fun, but I also got a lot of jams with that blaster. I noticed that a lot of people, because after a couple of our first games, a lot of people started gravitating towards the Ravens because they're small, easy, cheap, they were good to use.
And they didn't have to spend a lot of money on mods because they were just throwing in Ultra Fires.
Yeah.
You know.
Or Trust Fires.
Or Trust Fires.
Just high voltage batteries that will increase the ranges, increase the speed, make them very fun and powerful to work with.
Right.
But also, that's where, at least for me, I started looking a lot more at the power of the motors you were getting from Nerf. Because I remember always reading, like, you can put 4 batteries in, but you're really kind of risking blowing out the motor by doing that.
Right.
I remember the first game I tried it, I was like, I want all 4 batteries because I want the most power I can get. I grew up watching Home Improvement, so more power. Merry Christmas.
Yes.
But with that, I always wanted more power, and I feel like in the middle of one of the games, towards the end of the day, I was revving, firing like crazy, and I swear I saw like a plume of smoke just come out of the end of my blaster by where the batteries and the motor was.
Yeah, I remember that. And it smelled like, burnt electronics, kind of, you know? There was some plastic. Yeah, I remember you going like, oh, God,
okay, time to start using the Alpha Trooper again. But something I kind of liked about the color scheme, too, because I'm a big fan of the color green. And I'm not saying the green they used for the Raven was the absolute best. It was kind of more of like a pea green.
Yeah, but it was different than all the other blasters, for the most part, that were out.
And I have to wonder, because the other line that kind of got bigger that year was the Vortex line, the Disc Blaster line. And that kind of also used that same color green for a lot of their blasters. So I'm wondering if Nerf was trying to have this kind of group of blasters come out that are supposed to be like motorized, easier to fire sort of situations.
Yeah. The green motif sort of almost became prevalent, but then really didn't. It was like, oh, this is cool and new, but then they decided to go the way of the Elite line anyway, which worked for me. I think that the Firefly just ended up being green because they were going with the whole glow in the dark, or not the Firefly, I'm sorry, the Raven was using the Firefly magazines.
Yes.
Which were glow in the dark, and the darts would glow green. So I think
it was
a
very
just
cool effect, and it was kind of nice because those glow in the dark darts definitely felt a lot stronger than the regular streamlines were.
Yeah, no, I agree. I remember us like feeling them and testing them out, and it seemed like they kept their shape. They were a little bit more rigid than the old orange stock Elite darts. But yeah, I mean the Raven. I think it was a stepping stone.
It was a precursor,
yeah.
It's when they started looking at their blasters, and it's like, hey, you know what? This flywheel design is working really well. We can incorporate it in other blasters down the line, which we'll get into later in the podcast.
Right.
But the next step, I think, after that, after the Vortex line and the Disc Blasters, is going into the Elites. And when they started advertising the Elite series towards, I think it was spring or early summer, they started advertising those.
Yeah, I want to say that sounds about right. I don't remember the exact release dates off the top of my head, but I remember because things started showing up earlier in Toys R Us, as much the way that newer blasters, the supposedly the 2013 release dates on those, have been showing up in Toys R Us's, a month or two even before they're supposed to be hitting the shelves officially.
Called it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's like we said, they end up... this time, not even just Toys R Us. They've been Targets and Walmarts. And
Amazon.
And, yeah, everybody just sort of has them. Again, it's kind of weird. I don't know why Nerf does things like that. Especially if they're releasing something around Christmas time. Why wouldn't you advertise new blasters? We talked about that before.
Yeah, but it's weird, because if you watch a lot of kids programming like I do, because I'm a child...
Yes.
I watch Cartoon Network every once in a while because there's some shows on there that I like, and they have been advertising the Nerf Elite series very heavily. The part that gets me is like, try out the new Nerf Hailfire. It holds 144 shots.
Now, I really want to know what's going on with the Hailfire. If it's just Christmas sales that people are having, or if it didn't sell as well as Nerf has thought, because I've been seeing them everywhere for like $26.
Oh yeah, I've been seeing them all over, huge pallets. If you look on Amazon, they even have the special pack that comes with the 4 additional clips with it, so you can get all 8 clips in there for $32. So I think it's not selling as well as Nerf must have wanted originally.
Yeah, it seems like they've had that similar problem that they had with the Stampede.
Yeah.
Where they're like, well, we're going to keep it at this price, but we're going to have sales all the time on this thing. And because no one really wants to pay the ridiculous price that it actually is for it. When it was new, people did, but now it's just... I think parents especially, people who are enthusiasts, probably purchased it when it first came out, and so they've been experienced. You know, what I mean, they've played with it, and parents are now looking at that like, well, why am I getting that? I can get them this other one that looks cool for like $20. You know, it's a Retaliator, whatever that means.
Yeah, not only that, but you have to look at when kids are playing this game.
Yeah.
They can hold a Retaliator, or they can hold a Barricade.
Yeah.
They probably can't hold a giant Stampede or a Hailfire, which is, even for me, an adult, very cumbersome to carry around when you're using it.
Exactly. Yeah, and the Hailfire is what it is, you know what I mean? But I think that it's got to not be doing as well as Nerf had wanted, because everybody, I've seen it this holiday season, just massive sales everywhere.
I do want to reinforce, it is a very fun blaster. I do enjoy using it whenever I do use it. I don't use it that often, but I can understand the appeal for it, definitely. But yeah, it must just be they either overproduce them or they just aren't selling as well, because I'm just like Josh, I'm seeing pallets, huge stacks of just Hailfires everywhere, and these ridiculous sales everywhere but Toys R Us. It seems like Toys R Us is keeping it the regular price, but they have their buy one get one 50% off deal going right now, as they usually do throughout the year. So you can by all means get them for cheaper, but everywhere seems to be discounting them, a lot like the Stampede was over the summer.
Yeah, definitely.
And I remember over the summer, at least everyone in our group was buying Stampedes like crazy, because normally $60, they're selling for $25 to $30.
Well, plus they were the only place you could get the 18 round
magazines.
Yeah, and now you can, of course, get those by themselves.
Actually, kind of interesting. If you look in the stores, they actually have the Firefly clips
for
the new
now.
Raven for $20.
Yeah, as well as refills on the glow-in-the-dark Elite Streamlines. They have, obviously they come with the Firefly clip for the Elite Raven, but you can get just the refill packs on those by themselves, and I have not, unfortunately, been able to pick any up. Check them out and see if the new glow-in-the-dark compared to the new Elite Streamline feels a little bit better, the way that the old glow-in-the-dark used to feel compared to the old Streamlines, where it was a little bit sturdier.
Right.
I don't know what they mix in or make to in order for it to be glow-in-the-dark, but it seems like it gave it more rigidity before.
Yeah. It made it more sturdy, it felt like. Less likely to be damaged. And that's one thing I actually love about the new Elite series in general.
Right.
The old stock Streamline darts in comparison to the new Elite series Streamline darts just were garbage. Yeah. Well, I don't want to be that harsh on them, but when we were playing our games, we would lose so many darts because they get chewed up. We'd get gun jams all the time. We just had a lot of issues, and I felt like we were biting the heads off of darts all the time just to make sure darts weren't getting reused.
Yeah.
With the new Elite series, because they are stronger, they've been way more resilient. I've seen less jams overall, unless it's like new players and they're mishandling their blasters.
Right.
Just in general, I feel like we've had to spend a lot less on darts ever since we've transitioned over to the Elite series.
No, I agree. It seems like whatever... So it seemed also that Nerf, whatever other darts that they had back when they had the original Streamlines, and when I say other darts, I mean anything that wasn't just orange, felt like it was a little bit better quality. It was a little bit sturdier, and I don't know if that's because they put some sort of coating or paint, like for the camouflage quote unquote darts. The different colors that they put on them, it seemed like they would put something on the darts or in the darts that made them feel a little bit more sturdy. And I don't know if they realized that and have started doing that, even maybe just a clear something with the Elite darts, because they straight out of the box. I know a lot of people said like, well, if you actually, you should use both of them and feel. No, we've got brand new, unopened, original Streamline darts, and then brand new Elite Streamline darts, and felt them. We did like a blind test, and you can tell the difference. I was able to pull out the Elite Streamline like every single time. Like, this is the one. This is it. It's not soft and squishy like this other dart. And not feeling the head, because obviously you can tell the difference there, but just touching the outside.
Yeah, I think if anything, Nerf this year has stepped up their accessory game big time.
Yeah.
Because blasters are always nice, but a lot of these blasters, if you look at the 2011 lines and before that, just the only way you can get certain things, like, say, a stock, an 18-round magazine, was you had to buy the blaster to get it. Now I'm looking this season, and I'm seeing you can buy clips individually. They have different styles of clips you can buy.
Yeah.
And granted, they did that before. You could buy the little 6-round clips and the magazine drums
Yeah, they finally started bringing out the magazine drums, I think, like, end of 2011.
Yeah, I bought the 18-round one
18
after the Alpha Trooper, yeah. It was a Target exclusive, I think.
Yeah,
which makes sense
because
the Alpha Trooper was Target exclusive as well.
Yeah.
But with that, I'm seeing, like, more darts coming out. It just feels like... I'm really hoping Nerf is starting to realize that they can make a lot of money off their accessories and selling them individually.
Yeah, I think Nerf has started to realize that, just like iPods, that there's a large market in the accessories, you know. I don't want to have to spend $20 on a blaster if I can just go and buy the stock, like you said, or the barrel. Mm-hmm. Especially when so many people seem to own retaliators. You know, they are one of the sort of main blasters, especially in the Elite line. And you can add a stock, and you can add a barrel. And let alone, they're always like, oh, you can put tactical lights and scopes on here. There's no scopes or tactical lights without buying old blasters. Yeah, it's really weird that they have
the tactical rails, but the only way to get a lot of these accessories is they come with the blaster.
Right.
Which is no good, because I can tell you, I've seen a couple of our games where we collect all of our stuff and hook up all the scopes on the one blaster.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's just, and especially for kids. You know what I mean? Less maybe for some enthusiasts, unless they just want it to look cool and they know they're not going to use it, or, you know, I mean, but that market is there where kids are going to want to put things on it, and it's like, well, I already bought my kid this blaster. I can get them this little accessory, or I can buy them a whole second blaster. They're only going to be able to use one at a time. I mean, yeah, maybe you're going to...
And plus all the extra space, too. Like I said,
yeah.
we were collecting Stampedes when they were so cheap just to get the extra magazines.
Mm-hmm.
So I have like 4 Stampedes just sitting in my garage right now, not being used,
right?
Just because I wanted the accessories with it. And I would have gladly paid, like, let's say now that 18-round magazine costs $10. The Stampedes were $30. Given the choice now, I would gladly pay $30 just to get the magazines instead of paying $30 to get the blaster, the shield that comes with it, the bipod, and the extra magazines, because I don't want all that extra stuff at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a good deal when you're like, cool, basically I can get 3 of these for $30, or I could get, 3 of them plus the, Stampede plus all the stuff that you said for $30. Like, oh, it seems like a no-brainer until you've already bought that once. And now you're like, but I want 3 more magazines because I want to run 6. I want to just be able to swap. Do I really need another Stampede? Mm-hmm. Like, unless you're going to modify it or sell it or you need to do a bunch of things with it, you're kind of like, I'll just spend the $30 on these things. Like, I know that's a better deal, but honestly, what am I going to do with another shield or another this or that?
And plus, it's a lot easier to justify smaller purchases over time.
Yeah.
Like, there are a lot of times before a game where like, you know what, I want 1 more magazine, so I'll just go buy a magazine right now.
And I was going to say, maybe you just want 1 or 2, and you don't want 3. Well, cool, I can spend $10 instead of, I got to spend $30 to get this whole thing. I think Nerf's finally starting to see that, because they've announced, like, the new pinpoint sights coming out, even though they just look like the old ones.
Painted blue. But you know what? That's A-okay, because I know they don't work that well. I've seen the reviews on the pinpoint sights, but aesthetically, they do look kind of cool. They're small enough where they're not really going to mess with your loadout or your setup that much. So,
exactly.
You know what? For $10, I would easily buy one. That's $10 Nerf can get from me that they weren't going to get from me before.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I think that they've started realizing definitely being able to buy things and sort of mix and match is a much better way for them to make money. They've even started releasing things, or they released things this year that are Nerf related, but aren't really like their cameras and stuff. And I know they all kind of suck, but for a kid, cameras. It's cool. Like, cool, I can like attach this onto my tactical rail and like take footage of me playing Nerf. Like, yeah, it's going to be like terrible quality, but who cares? You're buying it for a kid. And I mean, that's their actual target market. It's not people like us who are going to be like, well, I'm going to get a good camera and put it on. But just the idea of them being able to sell things like that, they finally started going, hey, these are things that people want. We should make them. Even the deployable cover with the little ammo pouch in the deployable cover and the little windows that you can open up and shoot at each other. Like, that's a good idea on Nerf's part. So... going in the future, I think
there's a good model they have in mind.
Yeah,
I think they're picking it up very well, and I think the Elite series, the ones released in summer, was kind of their test for that. I mean, especially when you look at a lot of the blasters, they were pretty much just old blasters with new internals.
Yeah, but
Retaliator was Recon, the Rampage was the Raider, and then I mean, realistically, the Hailfire was the new version of the Stampede.
Right.
And that's why it's really interesting how we talked about there's so many Hailfires now.
Yeah.
I have to wonder with Nerf if they're like, okay, these two, the Retaliator and the Rampage are just redesigned, so those probably aren't going to sell that well. But the Hailfire is a completely new blaster, so they probably counted on a lot of people wanting to buy that just because it's different. And I'm sure they did, but I think they probably invested more in that particular blaster than they needed to.
Yeah.
Especially because once you have one, you're pretty much golden. But I see people buying Retaliators and Retaliators and Rampages just because if they have friends that are going to play, they want a spare blaster.
Right.
It's nice having something small and simple and easy to use, while the Hailfire is more specifically if there's a certain game type or a game mode you're doing where it's going to work well. Right. It's nice having it in the back of your trunk that you can bust out the game.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Nerf has done this before, too, where there's always sort of like a quote-unquote like big blaster, like the big gun.
Yeah, like this is the one they were building up.
Yeah, like, and obviously, again, their target audience is really younger children than are enthusiasts about the game. So I think they just kind of continue to go like, well, if we advertise it like, yeah, this is a blaster and you can use it, but this is the big gun you can get and shoot your friends with. That kids are going to be like, yeah, I want that one.
Yeah, and if you look at the advertising for it, too, they built up the Hailfire the most of any of the blasters.
Yeah.
As far as the official release date, which I think was like 9/9/2012 or whatever, it was sometime early September.
Yeah.
It was the Hailfire they're touting as this is the release date for this blaster. The other two is kind of like, expect them sometime September, August.
And I don't think that they're wrong, though. I think that the way that they're advertising makes sense because I think that when kids see that, I mean, I know that me as a young kid would probably be like, yeah, I want that one.
That's the one you have to get. It's the best one.
It's the best one. Oh, it has the most ammo and it shoots. Blah. But I think the problem is the price point. You know, when you're like, cool, well, this is going to be a $50 or $60 blaster. Parents are the ones who are buying these things for their kids. The kids might want that blaster, and yeah, you've advertised it well, but at that price, parents go, well, cool, I can just get them this Retaliator that says it's 4 guns in one, and they're still going to be happy at the end of the day. You know, they didn't get exactly what they wanted, but they're probably going to
still be happy.
Yeah,
it's something they can play with.
It's still a Nerf gun they can go play with their friends, and sure, Johnny down the street got the Retaliator or whatever. When they go on sale, the problem I feel is that now people have already bought all of the other blasters. You know, people have already got their kids this other one, and they're like, cool, well, they wanted that, like, earlier this year, and instead of buying it because it was so expensive, I got them this other thing. So now, why am I going to buy this even though it's on sale? So it's kind of, it sucks, you know what I mean? If
hard
Nerf
to
released
gauge
them
out
at
that price point.
Yeah, Nerf, I want to say if Nerf released them at like a $30, $35 price range instead of like a $45 to $50 when it first came out, I think it would have sold better.
I agree with that 100%. And I feel like when you're progressing up to their new Elite Series blasters, the Rough Cut, the Strife, all of these blasters are much better priced. Like the Raven originally, I think was like you could find it on sale very easily for $25 when it first came out at Target, Toys R Us, Amazon. But now the price seems to have shot back up to around like $40, the original price of the blaster.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's cool and everything, but at the same time, it's like, why not just get a cheaper blaster at that point?
Yeah.
Or everyone has it, so when these deals pop up, no one's going to want it anymore.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at the Strife and the Rough Cut, I mean, this could change right now, but the Strife, you could find it on Amazon for $20. It's in stores and Toys R Us at $30. And at $30, that's still a great price for it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not as good as $20, of course, but when you're looking at the price, it's like, wow, that is competitive in comparison to all the other blasters. And it's a very nice blaster, so why not get this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you know. Plus, the other thing with the Hailfire that is, and I mean, I don't know how much parents look at packaging and actually read into what they're buying their children, but if anyone did and they're like, cool, I'm going to spend this $50 for my kid so he can have this. Wait, I have to buy all of these magazines for it? It only comes with, what, 3 or 4?
It comes with four
6-round magazines. So you're like, well, that's like 12.
That's 24.
24 shots? I'm like, I was doing math. I wasn't saying 12. But on the box it says like 144, like the highest capacity. And you're like, wait, that means I have to go buy, what, 8 of these things?
Yeah, which is going to be $8 before tax. Or if you get them at Toys R Us, they're like $13. So that's even higher.
I mean, you're looking at like 80 plus, 50, and now you're like, whoa, come on. That's
$130 just to get what the package is advertising for me.
Yeah, and that's to have exactly enough ammo, too. Because now if you buy a Nerf blaster, you're probably going to buy some extra ammo for your kid.
Because it's going to get lost.
Now you're looking at, a good $20 on top of what you're spending to get a big pack of ammo of like 100.
So $150 to get basically what your kid wants, when originally it's being pitched to you as $50.
Exactly. But you can go buy a Retaliator, which is 4 guns in one, It has a 12-round magazine, and you can buy the 75, so now you're spending $40 instead of 50 plus 80 plus another 20. And it's like, well, that's a no-brainer. Yeah. Why would people buy this?
Plus ease of operation, too. Like,
and batteries. Let's not forget. Then you have to buy batteries for it.
Oh, yeah. Batteries.
So there you go.
That's always going to be a cost you're sinking into that. And, you can get rechargeable batteries, but that's just a burden. That's a hassle. Yeah. Especially if you're like us, enthusiasts in the middle of a Nerf war. While I like battery-powered blasters, I'm always paranoid in the middle of a game. I'm going to run out of juice. Yeah. And then what's going to happen?
Yeah.
I'm going to be left dead in the water, basically. That's why you carry a secondary. Like, even if I'm using the Strife, I'm still going to always have my Retaliator on hand, just in case of emergencies.
Right.
But as a kid, that's always a bummer. It's like, oh, the batteries are dead. We have to stop playing.
Yeah.
But ease of operation, the Hailfire is kind of tricky to operate.
Yeah. A lot of parts, and it looks like it might be a daunting task to assemble it, even from an adult standpoint. Like, I'm gonna have to do all of this stuff and buy all, and it's just almost a hassle, And I think Nerf doesn't look at it from their point of view. They just look at it like, we'll market this towards kids and they'll want it. And they're right, kids, I'm sure, do want it. But really, as a parent, if I were a parent, I'd be looking at that going like, oh, heck no. I'm gonna get them something that's simple, that isn't going to cost me a ton of money, but it's still going to make them happy.
Exactly.
So.
And some of these kids, even just priming the blasters are difficult for them.
Yeah.
So, like, I've like, my sister's boyfriend has a 3-year-old kid, and he loves coming over and playing with all the Nerf blasters I have.
Right.
So I always bring him out, and he has a hard time using any of them.
Yeah, just the stock ones.
Yeah, so with him, it's like, well, here's a battery-powered blaster, works well, but I can't imagine handing him a Hellfire. It's like, okay, you hold the trigger and make sure that the magazine is lining up properly with the barrel so it shoots properly, and then when you need to change it, you need to crank this forward and crank this back to make sure it's accelerating the carousel to the next one.
Yeah.
Do you understand that, all 3-year-old kid?
I mean, no. They're for maybe a little bit older audience, but
yeah,
even
that is pretty young, but I feel like it's still a kid. It's a pain in the butt to, like, have to do all the mechanical stuff that's necessary to work a Hailfire, as opposed to a simple cockback prime and then fire.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's already been confusing enough for people to realize they have to prime the blaster, or prime the blaster before inserting a mag. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta cock it back, throw it in, and then go forward. People that are our age automatically assume, like, well, you just put it in. They try to, like, shove it inside the blaster. So kids, I'm sure that happens to all the time, and that's a one step. Now we're talking about, you got to figure out how to get them inside this carousel, and then you got to shoot and move, and you got to hold this whole thing up, and then you got to crank it. Yeah,
that's a lot for a kid.
It's a lot. If you're a 5 or 6-year-old, I mean, it is what it is, and it's a fun blaster if you want to put the money towards it. But as a business standpoint from Nerf, I think
Mm-hmm. And then going from that point on, because most of the first series of Elite blasters, when they were released, it was over the summer, early fall, and right. I don't know about you, Josh, but for me, I figured that was going to be pretty much it for the year for Nerf.
Yeah.
And that we'd have to wait until about the same time next year, either spring or fall, to hear any news about new blasters.
Yeah.
That's why it was really kind of surprising when all this footage started leaking from the sets of, like, the Rough Cut, the Strife, all these new blasters.
Yeah. No, it was really weird. I mean, when I saw it, I was like, okay, so maybe, they're just trying to build the hype for enthusiasts. And, I mean, obviously they have to start working on this stuff beforehand. We've already seen, like, they already said Firefly coming in, not Firefly, what's it called? The new Night Finder.
Oh, the
Fire.
The Flame Strike?
Not Flame. Damn, I can't believe I just forgot the name of that thing.
Oh, wow.
But, whatever.
That's how excited we are about this blaster.
Yeah.
It's a Night Finder, and it's blue.
Pretty much. It doesn't even have anything new on it.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, it's cut down and smaller. I'm like, cool, it still has the wannabe laser pointer at the bottom.
But let's be honest, Josh. Has anyone ever said, wow, it's so cool to you?
No.
Exactly.
No.
I know you want. I know you want to help Hasbro here, but let's be honest. People buy the Night Finder because it's cheap and it's easy to use.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's
true. There's nothing there. There's no. But regardless, so we already saw that it was going to come out, and figured, well, all right, well, they're just going to kind of maybe leak some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we started.
And it was a
things.
long process.
Yeah.
I was going to assume.
I just assumed, we still aren't going to see this until at least spring. You know what I mean? Of next year.
And I can tell you, at least when I was looking at the pictures of the rough cut with the model guy holding them.
Yeah.
When I was looking at that, I was like, you know what? I was speculating about it, but at the same time, I'm like, maybe Nerf just slapped something together, and it's not even a working blaster. Like, it might be just a concept design that they liked. Like, would it be cool if we just had a big blaster like this that worked in a certain way?
Yeah.
It's like, just put it in the picture. I mean, we're not going to use it. Just throw it in the background so we can look at it.
Well, I mean, they've done that with things before. You know what I mean? Like the what was it? Not the Rampage. The Rampage had a shield in its original
That's
photos,
right.
and it never ended up having a shield. I mean, not that I would have been ecstatic about the shield, but Nerf has definitely released things or leaked things that have not come to be. Like the double drum mag on the Stampede. Mm-hmm. Like they were saying, like, it's going to come with a double 36 round magazine, and I was like, whoa, that's crazy. You know, it's going to be so, and that never happened. But there was either that was an incredibly good fake and an elaborate story that was made up, or, it got leaked and it was just something that never came to be. Yeah,
and that happens. I mean, from a marketing standpoint, you look at it, you start leaking photos, you hear no positive responses, or it doesn't seem cost effective. The amount of people who would actually want to buy that is actually smaller than you thought it would be, so you're not going to make money off of it. Then it's kind of like, I know we took pictures of it, but why bother to release it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, things are made as prototypes and then changed or scrapped, Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just...
So when I saw pictures of the rough cut, I was assuming it was a prototype.
Right. Yeah, I had no idea that they'd have working models out, let alone it be in store shelves before the end of the year.
Like within a month of these photos getting leaked.
Yeah, that was
ridiculous. And this wasn't intentional either. So let's assume, going back, that these photos weren't leaked and nobody figured this out. For the most part, I think the community would be kind of blindsided by these blasters coming out. I wouldn't even think to be looking in stores if I hadn't seen these photos on a photo shoot of, like, look at all this new stuff. If that had happened, I'd be like, okay, no one's going to look into anything then.
Exactly. If they hadn't gotten leaked, I question if they'd have started leaking blasters into circulation.
But that's a really hard thing, too, because with Nerf, like, I agree with that, by the way. I agree that Nerf might have released them early just because cat's out of the bag, why not just get it out now?
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, if you have a holiday season where you're buying so many toys for kids, why would you not try and make a bigger deal about brand spanking new blasters coming out?
Makes sense to me.
Because even though the Elite series is only like 4 months old at this point,
right?
The fact that there's new blasters, I mean, I'm looking at the Retaliator, I'm like, this is old hat.
Right.
I love it, but I'm like, but now I have to go buy a rough cut because it looks so cool,
Exactly.
But I completely agree. I'm not sure if Nerf would have released these blasters if that information had been leaked, because there would have been no speculation or hype online.
Yeah, and like you said, why would they bother just going, we're sort of going to release them, our official release date is 2013, but we're just going to leak them into some stores, and at this point, I've been able to find them in almost every Toys R Us that I've gone to, just before the holiday season, without hyping it up. It doesn't make sense, you know what I mean? If they knew that they were going to drop them right before the holiday season, it seems like they would have been working hard to get promotions out there and get the word out, and it just seemed like, oh, people have already kind of seen them, maybe we'll just sort of release them, because people already spoiled the Triad, the Rough Cut, and I don't remember if the Strife was...
The Strife was on the back of a box.
Oh yeah, it was on the back of the Firefly Tech clip.
That's what it was, because I remember seeing that the first time on the back for that.
Yeah. So maybe it was just like, well, they've already seen it. we'll just start kind of releasing it, and then we'll make a big deal out of it later. I don't understand that. That is one thing. Nerf is just, I can't.
And then something that kind of confounds me too, like obviously I don't know anything about production cycles, how long it takes to make a commercial, if there's any rights or paperwork they have to go through. This kid that the photos were leaked from, he was on a set in the gear holding the blasters. So either they're doing a photo shoot, they were filming a video. Why not just talk to the stations you're releasing your ads for and say, hey, do this new video now. Get this out here so we can get people excited about the old stuff. Because honestly, what's the point of advertising the Hailfire and the Retaliator when you can, honestly, at this point, you've missed the window when everyone's going to be super hyped about it because it's brand new. So you can send out those ads whenever you want. Now, this new stuff, since it's not even out and coming out around the holidays, it makes a lot more sense to take the ads that you might have already done, air them on Cartoon Network, and say, wait, there's whole new blasters I didn't know about?
Yeah.
I'm going after those.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It felt like maybe they just were trying to get kids into the idea of these new blasters being there throughout the summer, and then amp it up towards Christmas. I can't even fathom why they would do something like this. I mean, I'm happy because there's more blasters for us.
Yes.
It almost makes me sad because that means, like, are there going to be new blasters? You know, what new blasters are there going to be in the fall and spring? And that reminds me, I was at a Walmart, and they had some strifes there, and there was a lady from Hasbro who was one of the vendors putting things up. This just happened this last week, actually like a few days ago, and she was putting stuff up, and she asked me if I needed help looking or finding anything, even though she didn't actually work for Walmart. She told me she was a vendor from Hasbro, and I was just like, I'm just looking at some of the Nerf stuff, and I figured she's a vendor. She's putting up My Little Pony things and like One Direction toys and a bunch of stuff that Hasbro makes, you know. And I'm serious about that. He's giving me this look. One Direction toys?
That makes me happy.
But she was like, oh, well, so you know, random citizen who does not run a Nerf blog. I didn't mention it at all. She goes, all the ones in the blue packaging are new. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, I mean, obviously I already knew that.
Right.
She's like, so all the ones in the blue packaging are new, and there's going to be new ones coming out in the spring. And these will all mostly be compatible with the new stuff. And I was like, oh, really? Like, do you know when they're coming out or what they are? And she's like, no, I just know that there's new ones. And so I don't know if she means possibly that the new stuff we've already seen, like the Strife and the Triad and the Rough Cut, if those are going to be coming out in the spring officially, if that's what she was talking about, she might just be confused and be thinking that everything that was on the shelf was the old Elite line, like the Hailfire and what. But
that would make sense.
But the Strife and the new Nightfinder thing were there on the shelves. They didn't have the Rough Cut, and I didn't see the Triad. But I mean, the Strife was there, and it was like $20 at this Walmart. So obviously, some of those 2013 quote unquote blasters were already here. So just remember, you heard it here. Potentially, there might be new stuff coming in the spring.
That's really interesting because at one point I've worked retail, so I know how spacey some vendors can be,
right?
And apathetic they are about their products. Like I've seen Sony and LG and Samsung vendors all just joking and laughing around each other. And in my head, I'm kind of like, shouldn't you guys be competing against each other? And they're like, no, we don't really care. We're contracted out from a third party, so it doesn't really matter.
Exactly.
So in her head, it might be she's looking at the box and is like, oh yeah, there's a Retaliator, and that Strife looks like a Retaliator, so there's going to be new stuff coming out in the spring. She might not have realized that stuff was out there. But I mean, at the same time, this was leaked footage that we got originally of these blasters. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I figured it would be a really long production cycle before we heard anything about them officially coming out.
Right.
So even just getting release dates that quickly, I'm like, that's conjecture. It's probably going to be out sooner. It's not exact, but I bet you anything when the blasters are done, they're done. It's like, oh, they're done within a month of that being leaked.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder, that has a development cycle. Were they working on those over the summer or way before that? How long were those on work, and how tight-lipped were they about it?
Right, exactly.
So there could be blasters that we have no idea about that are a month away from being finalized.
Yeah.
And that they would be launched ideally in the spring, and then might be like late winter instead because Nerf.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and again, we've talked about the way that they do things. It would make sense for them to release something in the spring and or summer, the way that that would make sense for us. But then again, they have the Super Soaker line, so they have to have things coming out for that. So I mean, who knows? She could be, like I said, just talking about that stuff. It would be really cool if there were actually blasters that were in production right now.
I don't doubt it. There has to be something on the table. Just, to me, I think it would take longer than spring for something new to come out. Because as it stands right now, the Vortex line and the Raven came out around springtime.
Right.
And then you get the Elite Series in the summer. And now you have these guys late fall, early winter coming out.
Yeah.
So does that mean that we can really expect a 3 to 4 month cycle of new blasters to be coming out, and not just one blaster, but a group of blasters coming out each time?
Yeah, that seems really short, and that's what I was going to say. Like, one blaster is one thing. I mean, if you look at it, seems like Nerf's releases before the Elite line were, I mean, the Rampage. Or, I'm sorry, the Raider and the
Raider, the Recon.
Recon were all out for like a while, right? Those sort of came out, and they were
the Long Shawn, the Long Strike.
Yeah,
it seemed like these blasters kind
of
trickle out, and they could draw a lot of attention to just one blaster when it came out.
Well, it seemed like the community had been like, yeah, this clip system stuff has been out for a while. They've gone through some different paint jobs. There's different long shot colors and stuff like this. But when they released a new blaster, it was like Alpha Trooper. You know what I mean? The Raven. You know, it sort of came out by itself with not a ton of other things around it. I mean, maybe there were some Vortex line things that came out at the same time, but to me it feels like those might be two different departments, even though it's all Nerf.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, they're separate, though, even though they're the same. Everything was sort of released one by one, sort of staggered, and then you got this Elite line where it was like a block of blasters, you know? And then suddenly you're getting another block of blasters. So it's just like, is it going to be one that gets released, and then another few months later there's another new blaster? Are they going to do exclusives? Like, are they going to just re-release the Alpha Trooper and make it Elite? Are they going to release the Spectre?
The Omega Trooper.
Yes.
Yes. But I mean, at the same time, with some of these blasters, like, looking at the first release of Elite Series blasters, it makes perfect sense that they would come out in a group, because honestly, two of those were the same exact shell, different internals.
Right.
They were just updating. So
and it was a line.
It was a line. So
the Elite line was coming out. You can't just, here's one blaster from the Elite line. It's here.
No, that's like teasing us. That's not actually a line. So coming out with a group of those, and the Hailfire being the only one that really needed a redesign, that makes sense to me.
Right.
What's really strange is this holiday season where you're getting the Strife, completely new blaster. Rough Cut, completely new blaster. The Triad, redesigned. Like, it's not, because there's an Elite Series Jolt too. So they didn't have to come out with the Triad if they didn't want to.
Well,
but
I mean, okay,
did.
is there actually Elite Series Jolt? Does it say Elite on the package? I think that's one thing I haven't. I looked at the package. I want to say it just says N-Strike.
I have them in my car right now. I'm pretty sure they say N-Strike Elite on the handle, but not on the box.
They very well might. I mean, but you're right. Yeah, there's.
It's basically it's blue, so obviously they're trying to brand it as that.
If you look at the Strife and the Triad, like, they're based on older blasters, so you can tell, like, yeah, maybe they didn't need a ton of work. But like you said, the Rough Cut for sure is just completely
well. The Strife
original.
is based on an older design, but realistically, the design I think you're talking about is the Barricade with the clip system mod.
Right.
And that wasn't officially done by Nerf. That was modders in general being able to reproduce that very efficiently.
And I mean, all of the internals were changed. Not just the flywheels are sort of in the same position and this and that, but it takes 4 batteries. You know, that's already. As far as the shell is concerned, that means the shell is different because it has to accommodate another battery in there now.
They could have easily just released even 2 of these blasters. Like, they could have done a Strife and a Triad, and then do a Rough Cut and a redesigned Raven. Like, they could have just paired them off.
Yeah.
But they just pretty much said,
the Night Finder.
Go to town, yeah.
What was that name? The Fire Strike?
I said that earlier.
Maybe you just said the Fire Strike earlier.
The Flame Wall.
I thought you said Flame something.
Blue Fire.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Melts red ice.
Fire Strike sounds correct. Whatever. You know it's the same thing. They cut off like the front half and no one cares.
Set fire to the rain.
Yeah.
Because you don't know you're beautiful. They're all British artists.
Yeah,
so.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Doctor Who.
Doctor what? Doctor Who's on first.
Damn it. I was going there.
I win.
You got it. Son of a bitch.
But the moral of that story is basically, it's odd that they released all these blasters at this time. They could have spaced it out, so that's almost implying that's like, you know what? Release all this stuff. You know why? Because maybe we do have some stuff coming out in 4 months that we can just unleash before the summer and still be fine. We can unload as much as we want and just get this out on the shelves. And it's odd that they still have so much of their older lines still on the shelves too. You can still find Stampedes and Raiders and Recons and all these other older N-Strike series blasters sitting on shelves.
I mean, I have heard people at even these stores say that they're trying to get rid of a lot of those. I've read things from Target employees saying, those will be going on clearance after the Christmas season because we're going to try to sell as many as we can.
Makes sense.
Afterwards, clearance them out because we know that Nerf is coming out with new stuff. I always assume that the new stuff, they're just referencing the Elite line that's already out, but there could be new Elite line stuff. You know, not the second wave, a third wave of Elite line stuff that is ready to hit shelves come spring.
This has been a very interesting year because it feels like Hasbro and Nerf have changed up their game plan a lot. Yeah. Instead of slow releases with single blasters, they're focusing more on complete lines, accessories, branding with other stuff like video games and cameras and other devices, and just changing up their advertising campaign a lot too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely an interesting year. A lot of things felt like they experimented with and then sort of found their stride of what people want and what they can produce for us and how quickly they can get it out.
Now, granted, in 6 months we can be looking back and saying, oh my god, Nerf was stupid. They released all their blasters and then we had nothing new and nothing even projected to come out.
Very possible.
We don't know. But, I mean, if you're to analyze and look at it, either Nerf is trying out something new or they're making a lot of big mistakes that don't seem to work with their previous track record for releasing blasters and advertising.
Right.
It's weird to change something up that much and not have a plan going forward.
Yeah, exactly. So either this is a really good sign or a really bad one.
Yes.
You know, a one or the other, and I mean, only time will tell.
You know what it breaks down to? Mine apocalypse. They thought the apocalypse was going to happen, so release the blasters while they can to get as much money as they can and party.
There we go. Party.
Yes.
All night long.
Yes.
And every day.
That's rock and roll. Wait, you want to rock and roll all night and party every day.
But what if you want to do it the other way around?
I just want to party hard.
That makes sense.
Andrew WK.
I can get behind that.
I wish they should get Andrew WK in on a Nerf commercial because he would be the perfect spokesperson.
The entire line would have to go from blue back to like weird colors so that they could use it in like raves and parties and
not even like that because what I'm thinking matches outfit.
Glow in the dark darts. I'm telling you,
we have those already. But what I'm telling you is Andrew WK, white shirt, white pants. He would be perfect for the Super Soaker color scheme.
That's true.
It would be perfect. So this is a free one right now to you, Hasbro. He's on you wouldn't know, but he was on a kid show called Destroy Build Destroy on Cartoon Network. Yes. Have no idea if it's still on the air or not, but clearly Andrew WK likes working with kids because he just has positive energy and is awesome. So make some sort of like commercial with him on Cartoon Network where he's advertising it. Kids are familiar with him and like him because of his energy, and just have him advertise Nerf or Super Soaker stuff, and they would make so much money. Yep. And it would be like a wet t-shirt contest, but with a guy because he's wearing a white shirt.
Exactly. Yes, that'll work. 2013. Hope it's a good year for Nerf and Andrew WK.
Yes. I feel like 2012 was a good year for Nerf. Not so much with Andrew WK because he doesn't get to go be a cultural ambassador. But, I mean, he's going to manage. That guy, you can't knock him down.
You know, he'll figure it out.
He'll get back up with a bloody nose.
Again.
But on that note, I think that's the last podcast we have for this year. So I wanted to thank all of our listeners so far.
Definitely. Thank you all.
Happy holidays. Be safe. Once again, if you want to send us some Nerf stuff in the mail, just leave a comment. I'll ping you with our email, and the email will have an address that may or may not lead to a place where you can ship us packages.
Yes.
Just keep that in mind. It's a multi-step program because I don't trust you guys. I don't trust people on the internet because I don't want to get attacked. Because I'm a very frail kitten, and I'm afraid of being hurt. I've been hurt too many times before, Josh.
Dashing man, this one.
Dashing. I prefer dapper.
You have to dress dapper, but you can always be dashing.
Yes.
So, there's
On that note, once again, thank you everyone for listening. This is Shawn.
And Josh.
Happy nerfing.